Fresh cut, fresh cut, fresh cut. Shout out Gabe, shout out Gabe. Let's get straight to it. Well. Uh, the guy that I felt would be a Spur, at least for next season, is gone. And Murray's out. So I was wrong for thinking that he would suit up for the Spurs next season. But I was right about the rumor. I told y'all the rumor was not going to come true. I just did not see us trading him for John Collins. But he is still going to the same team, and he's going for Gallo and 3 first-round picks. People are blowing my phone up, tagging me on Instagram, asking me how I feel about the trade for Dejounte. I'm gonna be flat out honest. There's two sides of it. Okay, I literally have just bought a Dejounte Murray jersey. Okay, I have a Dejounte Murray jersey, authentic white, crisp white Spurs jersey with the Murray on the back, and he's no longer a part of our team. So part of me is disappointed in terms of, him not being able to suit up for us anymore, and, me not being able to proudly wear that jersey because he's not on our team. However, the move makes sense, okay? And let me explain why the move makes sense, okay? So, some Spurs fans, including myself, I would have liked to see Murray come back and go after DeAndre Ayton and see what happens. Okay, see what happens, see how we compete. I felt that, Ayton and Murray with Keldon and Devin would have been a great thing to possibly put together and see where we land in the West, right? But even if we would have done that, would I have been able to comfortably say we can compete for a title next year and the year after while Murray, because Murray wants to compete and win now. He got two years left on his contract. Would that be enough to win a championship? I'm going to say no. It wouldn't have been. But I just would like Ayton on our team being a 23-year-old center with a great amount of potential. See, my phone is blowing up right now. With a great amount of potential. But here's why I'm on the side of where it makes sense. That draft we had with those 19-year-old kids, all 3 of them, and then you look at how they've been interacting with each other. I don't care if it's fake. I think it's real. But even if it was fake, they're making it look real, the camaraderie between those 3 rookies. And I think that's a genuine relationship that they have. Those 3 slipping in a primo who's the same age as those guys. I think for the Spurs, you kind of have to focus on that part. Because I even said this in the Facebook group. You guys got to remember, as young as Dejounte started with us, he's been here for 6 years. Now, it's unfortunate that he's had some injuries. He had that injury that kind of slowed down his development a little bit. But once he was fully comfortable, we saw this year the capability of what he can do. I think we would have saw what we saw this year 2 years ago if he wouldn't have tore his ACL. But for the Spurs, even as Spurs fans, it's one thing all Spurs fans have in common. This is the one thing we have in common because we know we're divided on a lot of stuff. But one thing we all have in common is we're not with the just making the playoffs, making the play-ins. We're used to championships. And so when I look at this trade and you look at these 3 first-round picks we got, plus the 3 guys we just got this year, plus the Primos, the Devins, the Keldons, who are all between 19, 22, 23 years old, I think Brian Wright has now put us in a position for the next 6 years to put together a team that won't just be good, but a team that is going to compete for a title once these young guys develop. Now, we still got to do our due diligence and draft correctly. Just because you have a draft pick does not mean that whoever you pick is going to pan out. But we have what a lot of teams don't have when they go into a rebuild. That is cap space. That is a lot of picks over the next 6 years. And even current guys on our roster that could be a franchise player in Josh Primo or Keldon, maybe even Devin Vassell. So we do have those three things going for us. So when you put those things in place, and then you go back to Dejounte Murray, who's going to be 26 years old, and has 2 more years of his contract. Like I said, 28 years old. When you turn 28 and you're a free agent, you look at all the free agents from Kevin Durant, all the big-time free agent moves of those guys when they made those moves at 27, 28. That was probably the last time they're going to see that level of contract, and that's going to probably be how it's going to dictate how the rest of their career is going to go as they enter the later part of their career. So, even if we kept Murray, I don't know if I was confident that Murray would have stayed, even if we would have rolled with him for the remaining 2 years. I don't know how confident I would be in him returning. So I think it was one of them things where the Spurs had to make a move because they probably got the gut feeling that he was never going to re-sign. And even if he was to re-sign, was it worth him signing? Is it worth the Spurs paying him the amount he's going to be owed or be seeking when he is a free agent at 28 years old? Then you look over to the left and look over to the right, and you got Josh Primo over here. Then you got Malachi, who you just drafted along with Blake. You look at that, and then you say, well, we got 3 guards, and they're all the same age. So Murray's talking about how he wants to win now. This might be 2 different timelines. I think it's 2 different timelines. Murray is entering his peak, but the Spurs haven't entered their peak. So what do you do when that happens, when you're a team that's, on the outside looking in of a playoff team, and you have a player of a caliber of Murray who's entering his prime years, but you still haven't figured it out as an organization? You got to get the most for that guy. And was it the most? I would say yes, because you traded a guy that's gonna be seeking a max level type contract as an all-star, and you got 3 picks in the return, and you got no contract barriers over anything in return. You got Gallo for this year, but his contract is gone after this season. So it doesn't affect your long-term or short-term cap, and you got 3 first-round picks out of it that are also unprotected. So even if you're not, even if you don't want to go deep into the draft and you decide to make a trade for somebody else that you really wanted, you now have the assets to do that. Will the Spurs do it? I don't know. But there's not a trade the Spurs can't make right now. There's not a trade the Spurs can't make because of all those picks they have. They can make a solid move. So, with me saying this, Spurs fans, you're going to be frustrated. We're going to be frustrated next year. I'm just be flat out honest. We're going to be frustrated next year because we're not going to be a contender. From Pop's presence, I'm never going to say that we can't make a play-in game. We'll be around that range again because Pop is that good of a coach. Good coaching is going to keep us in the hunt even if we don't have the superior talent. That's just facts. So we're going to be around the same area, maybe even a little bit lower than last year. We might be on the outside of the play-in game. But would you rather be on the outside of a play-in game for the next year, right? But end up winning a championship within the next 3 to 4 years if these guys develop, or lock in to 2 players like Murray, maybe even 8 and 2, but don't get past the second round for the next 7 years. Think about that. Anything is possible, but what I'm saying is don't lock in until you know that you feel like you can compete with a team that can go get a championship. Don't lock in to contracts when there's no belief that you can really go get the job done. Like, I was the one that said I felt like we probably should have maxed Murray. I've been on record for saying that, for sure. I have. But the draft really changed my mind. It really did. It really did, because I didn't think we were going to go after two guards. I knew we had 3 picks, but I didn't think we were going to go after 2 guards. And I don't even think the Spurs knew they were going to go after 2 guards. If we being honest, I don't think they knew they were going to get those 2 guys. Those guys fell. Remember that. Malachi and Blake fell to the Spurs. I think the draft changed all of that, because I don't see how the Spurs couldn't have made that move prior to draft night. I think the draft really changed the trajectory of our franchise. I really believe that, because we got 3 guys that I don't think the Spurs thought they were going to get. And I've seen reports saying that Primo and those 2 and the guys, the rookies, are looking amazing. I know it's practice, but I mean, for them to go to practice and then the report come out how amazing they look, and then a few hours later Murray's traded, that tells me they're sold on what is in their training camp, or what is in their summer league camp right now. That's what that tells me, bro. And the last time I was disappointed in a trade, it was when we traded George Hill for Kawhi Leonard. I did not want the Spurs to make that move. I was high on George Hill. Who was wrong? Who was right? I want us to keep Murray, but this one might turn out to be something that, works out for us in the long run. And that's why none of us works for the Spurs. That's why all of our Spurs fan base, that's why we don't work for the Spurs. We're in the right space for us. Social media analysts. That's what we are. We don't work for the Spurs. We don't question it. We might look back and say, man, we really wanted to keep Murray for too long, and look at how good Primo ended up being. Or it can go the other way. But I think for us, we just got to be patient, man. I know we're tired of hearing that, but we got to keep in mind that Kawhi Leonard extended our window. And that's just facts. I don't care what Spurs fans don't like Kawhi. This is the facts. Kawhi Leonard extended our window. Our window should have closed in 2011. Today, we're going to be honest, Spurs fans. Our window should have closed in 2011 when we were the number 1 seed and we got upsetted by the Memphis Grizzlies in the first round. And for the second time in 3 years during that time frame, like from 2009 to 2011, we had been eliminated in the first round twice. That's when the rebuild should have started. But what happened? We make a trade. We trade George Hill for Kawhi. We get this young guy named Kawhi Leonard. He ends up being a superstar player, gets finals MVP in his third year. His third year in the NBA, he wins finals MVP, and we get a championship when we were supposed to be done. But we know how the rest of it happened after Tim Duncan and those guys retired in 2017. But what I'm saying is Kawhi Leonard extended that run. If there was no Kawhi drafted to San Antonio, we probably would have been doing this 5-6 years ago. So Kawhi extended the run. Then we flipped Kawhi, got DeRozan, and they was able to keep us competitive. But like I said, the worst spot I've said prior, the worst spot to be in the NBA is the middle of the pack. I've said this in prior videos. The worst spot to be in is in the middle of the pack. 8, 9, 10, 11. 8, 9, 10, 11. 8, 9, 10, 11. That's the worst spot to be in. Look at the Rockets. The Rockets rebuild like this. They went from having James Harden, Chris Paul 4 years ago to now they got probably the most young talent, or arguably the most exciting young talent in the league, because they had to be terrible to get Jalen Green and be terrible again to go get Jamari. So the worst spot to be in, if the Rockets were still in a play-in situation, they don't get Jalen Green, they don't get Jabari. So it's just weird how it's kind of like how the real world is, the middle class don't get nothing. You either got to be rich or poor. It's the same thing in pro sports. You either got to be the best or the worst to get something. If you're in the middle, it's hard to really maneuver. And we've been in the middle for, honestly, since Kawhi Leonard rolled his ankle. We've been in the middle 7, 8, 9, 10 since Zaza stuck his foot under Kawhi. That moment put us in the middle for 5 straight years. So, yes, the fan of me, the fan I am of Murray says, dang, man, I wish we'd have kept him. But when you really take it a step farther, you take steps back and really look at it from a big picture. Let's go back prior and for the future. You go back to 2011, this should have happened years ago. It's just Kawhi extended that window, bro. That's just facts. Kawhi extended that window. Tim Duncan was on his way out. So was Parker. So was Ginobili. But you get this young kid like Kawhi, put the right role players around him. Okay, we can go do this a little bit more. We can go do this a little longer. Oh, and by the way, we might get lucky and find our next franchise player until the situation happened. We were putting the pieces together. You got to think. Murray was supposed to be Kawhi Leonard's Robin. So all you Spurs fans that was never sold on Dejounte being the best player, you might have a point, but just keep in mind he was never brought in to be the best player. Murray was brought in to be the guy to play next to Kawhi. Derek White, same thing. These guys were supposed to be Kawhi's supporting cast. When the head guy like Kawhi wanted out, we were stuck with a bunch of guys who were supposed to be complementary players to Kawhi. So that's why we're in the middle of the pack. You got to know the why. So Murray's traded, man. I wish Murray had nothing but success, man. I'm still a Murray fan, man. I got the Spurs jersey, man. I ain't doing nothing with that. I'm gonna still wear that. That's a throwback to me because I feel like Murray is gonna continue to do this with his career. I do wonder how that's gonna work though with him and Trey. I do wonder how that's gonna work, and I also have concerns about Murray on how he's gonna be looked at as far as his career because I feel like now that he's in Atlanta, it's not his franchise. Now he's just a piece of a puzzle. He's going to definitely be the second best player. He still could definitely be an all-star. What I'm saying is the role he had in San Antonio was definitely more. So now he's going to have to do that same thing in Atlanta. But, you know, that's Trae Young's squad. So, but I still think Murray's going to be great, man. I'm still rocking the jersey. I don't care if Spurs on the front or not. I'm rocking that. That's a dope. For one, it's a clean jersey. And two, I rock with Murray. Murray's still our franchise leader in triple-doubles. So at the end of the day, you can say what you want. He's still a part of Spurs history. So, you know, I rock with Murray. Salute to Dejounte, man. Spurs, be patient, man. Spurs fans, be patient. It's going to be a rough year next year. I'm going to be honest with you. But, hey, let's enjoy it, man. We were supposed to go through this years ago, man. We got lucky. We didn't have to go through it for 22 years in a row. We got lucky. We got lucky. Kawhi extended that run. We got lucky. Everybody went through it. The Warriors went through it. How you think they got Steph and Clay? They had to lose. So, hey, everybody went through it. It's just our time. We had 22 years of laughing and pointing fingers and high-fiving. Now we got to go through what all the other people had to go through. All right? So, like, comment, subscribe. We out.